Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Feel Good with Helprr podcast, where we explore the stuff that we all go through but don't always discuss. I'm Anvesh.
I am Anshita, and today we are diving into something that honestly affects more of us than we might realize. Triggers. Those moments that seem to flip a switch and suddenly we are overwhelmed, anxious, or totally thrown off.
Yeah, and the thing is, triggers aren't just emotional overreactions. There's a reason they happen, and understanding that can make them a little less scary.
Exactly. On top of that, triggers are so common among the general population. So many folks are affected by them, yet somehow they aren't really talked about enough or are seen as a malfunctioning brain or body.
That's right. A 2016 World Health Organization World Mental Health Survey highlighted that nearly 70% of the people worldwide have experienced a negative event, which might cause lasting effects, meaning that nearly 70% of the population could experience triggers too.
Neither of us are clinical professionals, but we have been reading up on how triggers work, and it's vitally fascinating once you get into it. So, today we are going to unpack what triggers actually are, why they happen, and how people manage them. So, Anvesh, what is a trigger anyway?
Okay, let's start with the basics then. A trigger is basically anything that sets off a strong emotional or physical reaction. It could be a sound, a smell, a place, or even just a feeling.
And the kicker is it's usually tied to past experiences, right? Like, especially ones that were
Mhm.
stressful or traumatic in some way. Your brain picks up on something in the present and goes, oh no, this reminds me of that awful thing. And then boom, it becomes a full body response.
That's right, and it's not always obvious. Someone could smell a certain cologne and suddenly feel panicky, or walk into a room that just feels familiar but in a bad way, and have no idea why their heart's racing.
Yeah, that has happened to me. That reaction can show up physically in the form of muscle tension, rapid breathing, but it could also show up emotionally, like feeling totally overwhelmed, angry, or out of control. And like, why do our brains do this?
This is the part that blew my mind. Research has shown that triggers are basically your brain trying to protect you. Our brains are super wired for our survival, and the part that jumps into action is called the amygdala.
Right, the amygdala. It's like your internal alarm system. It picks up on danger cues, even if they aren't presenting any obvious and imminent dangers, and then it alerts the whole system. Our brains are hardwired to be vigilant and protect us. So sometimes seemingly innocuous things set the system off.
That's right. And along with the amygdala, the hypothalamus jumps in to rev up your body. The hippocampus pulls up old memories, and the limbic system throws in the emotional fireworks. It's like a full body time machine to protect us from repeating that past experience, whether we want it or not.
Interesting. And that's why it can feel so intense or even out of body. Your brain isn't messing with you. It's trying to keep you safe. It's just not always accurate. The emotional and physical roller coaster.
It definitely feels like a roller coaster. So let's talk
Mhm.
about what it might feel like in the moment. Emotionally, it can feel like a tidal wave, like you're drowning in fear, sadness, anger, or all of them at once.
Yeah, like physically, your body might freeze up or your heart might start pounding. That's your sympathetic nervous system, the fight, flight, freeze mode kicking in.
Since there's no real external threat that you can fight or run from, your body just holds on to all that energy, which may make it feel even more overwhelming.
Yeah, it's honestly exhausting, but here's the good news. There are ways to work with your body and brain to ride it out and even get ahead of it, right?
Yeah, and the goal here is to create emotional resilience. We can use some tools to help us get through the triggered moment and then find long term practices to keep us aware of what triggers us and why, to teach ourselves that we are safe and not in any danger. So let's talk about some in the moment tools. What can you do when you are triggered?
Yeah, I think one of the best things, breathing, specifically square breathing. You breathe in for four, hold for four, out for four, and then hold empty for four. That really helps.
Yeah, it's simple, but it helps tell your body, hey, we're safe now. And if deep belly breaths feel impossible in the moment, even just slowing down your breathing and adding some space between breaths can really help.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. I've tried that many times and it works for me with almost everything from feeling a little stage fright to nerves on a plane. And of course, when I start feeling triggered.
Yeah, I'm so glad that that works for you. And yes, research shows that this deep breathing can force some fresh and sustained oxygen into our bodies and help calm down our sympathetic nervous system. essentially deactivating the crisis response.
Indeed. Another one that I really like is the 5 4 3 2 1 grounding technique. To do this, you need to name 5 things you can see, then 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste. It helps pull your focus back to the present.
I've given that one a try. I
Yeah.
definitely find it helpful to keep me grounded and keep me in my present space again, and to help redirect my crazy thought spiral sometimes a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, that's great. The 5 4 3 2 1 method is a great way to gently redirect your thoughts and keep the focus on the here and now, especially reminding ourselves that we are not in danger and we are safe in that moment.
I know, and if you're especially super tense physically, progressive relaxation can help with that. That's where you go through each part of your body from your toes up and consciously release the tension.
Yeah, it may seem a little tedious, but honestly, I've never felt more relaxed than when I've done a progressive relaxation. We never really know how much tension we carry. So, something like this really makes us get into it and focus on easing our bodies, even the smallest muscles.
That's right. And in the case of triggering situations, it once again brings our focus back to our bodies and helps to redirect that spiral of thought. So, Anshita, let's talk about some long term support and healing options too.
Yeah, of course. Coping in the moment is just one part of the picture. In terms, some things can help reduce how often or how intensely you get triggered.
Like therapy, for example,
Yeah.
cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT is great for identifying thought patterns and triggers. It allows us to become more aware of what the root cause of triggering stimuli might be, which for some folks can be helpful when they need to re regulate.
Yeah, or even EMDR, the eye movement desensitization reprogramming, which is designed to help reprocess traumatic memories. This could be especially helpful for folks who experience trigger responses because of some visual stimuli and experience memory-based trigger responses like flashbacks or vivid relivings of experiences.
That's true. And then there's always exposure therapy too, which helps people gradually, safely face their triggers. As with any other therapy form, it's especially important to seek these treatments from trained professionals who work in a way that works for you.
Yeah, and not everything has to be clinical. Mindfulness, meditation, and movement can make a huge difference. Anything that helps you build a strong conscious connection between your mind and body helps create more awareness of when we might be feeling triggered and helps us re-regulate more effectively.
Even creating a solid support system can be extraordinarily helpful when processing triggers. A community you can rely on to talk about the responses will help you feel safe in moments when you feel triggered or overwhelmed.
Yes, 100%. A support system, it could be friends, family, partners, or even trained professionals. That is super helpful for long-term resilience. The healing process is a very complex journey, right? And like building emotional resilience can be helpful to work through triggering moments.
Yeah, and triggers don't just magically disappear, but they can lose their power over time. And that process of building emotional resilience, it's slow, but it's so worth it long term. So, Antrita, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I would just say that if you have ever felt overwhelmed for no reason or like your reaction didn't really make sense, I want everyone to remember it does. There's always something behind it, and you're not alone in feeling that way.
Totally. Your body is trying to protect you, even when it goes a little bit overboard sometimes. And the more we learn about why it happens, it's easier to approach ourselves with compassion and use tools to navigate those responses.
Yeah. All right. That's it for this episode of Feel Good with Helper podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope this gave you something to think about or maybe something to try the next time things feel overwhelming.
And as always, if you're struggling, reach out to someone you trust, a friend, a therapist, a hotline, or even shoot us a post on the Helper app. And there's resources linked for any of the methods that we've discussed on the Helper website too. You deserve the support.
Yeah. So we'll catch you next time. And until then, remember to be kind to yourself and one another. Bye.
Bye.